Hi, welcome to our show. We are interviewing Captain Bill Palmer, and I am lucky enough to be at his house. And the reason we have cigars is Captain Bill is known for his cigars. In fact, he was featured as a cigar chomping, I don't know, some sort of crazy person in the book Shadow Divers, New York Times bestseller. So you've got to read it. There's 2 full pages on him. And his mannequin, or I don't know, maybe you view her as more of a mannequin, Captain Bill. Who is she? Why is she dressed like this?
Well, I mean, I would prefer not to insult her.
Okay.
She happens to be a symbol of the past, I think is best said. And she's dressed in German foul weather gear that was resurrected from the U-853. She's holding on to the wheel. And the wheel is affixed to the after steering station, which was at one time mounted to the ceiling of the submarine. And it was also the emergency steering. Should she lose her hydraulic power, this wheel would then swing down, or this whole contraption would then swing down out of the ceiling, and they could steer it manually. So my beloved Eva, who's been with me for 25, 30 years, has faithfully steered our house.
Wow. Okay, now this is actually, you found this at the ocean floor, inside the submarine?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and I see that it's got a lot of holes, and I hate to say this because this is going to be aired on public TV, but she doesn't really have much on underneath.
No, it's very warm down here, so
okay.
and until we find the rest of it, she's going to stay like this.
All right, but for the most part, she's covered. I mean, I don't see anything unmentionable.
No.
Now, how about her headgear?
Well, the helmet didn't come from the 853. A friend of mine gave it to me, but I just thought that it was fitting.
Yeah, no, she looks good. She looks good. What else? Where did you actually get her? Did you find her in the submarine?
No.
Okay. Where did you get her?
A friend of mine owned the shop years ago and was discarding certain items. And I said, hey, I could really use that.
Oh, yeah. Every man needs a mannequin to
Yes.
wear the German foul weather gear.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't have a helm with nobody manning it.
Right, right.
So,
do you ever get scared when you come downstairs to your rec room?
no, but on occasion, I don't know if it was an electrician, somebody that hooked something up with the gas company. They were momentarily startled. You know, when they came down, flipped on the light, and they saw somebody standing here, not realizing it was a mannequin.
And a German from World War II,
Yeah.
no less,
Absolutely.
ready to do battle.
Ready to go.
And this submarine is sunk. Tell me where it's sunk. A little bit about the history.
It was the last German submarine sunk in World War II. As a matter of fact, it was sunk minutes, call it seconds, before World War II ended.
That's an amazing
Yeah.
piece of history right there.
Well, the captain of the boat was 24 years old, and I believe him to be naturally young and ambitious and wanted to make a name for himself before the war ended. And unfortunately, he utilized his crew to do that.
Mm.
And, one thing that always sticks in my mind, the former captain, whose name was Saunders, he was wounded 25 times on weather duty.
Mm-hmm.
Got the boat home, and the crew named the boat the Tightrope Walker because it walked a tightrope, and he was always able to get her home. Now he's lying in the hospital recovering from his wounds. He said to Firmstorff, who was his first officer and given the boat, he said, listen, the war's nearly at an end. Do not be frivolous with the crew. They're all good boys. Make sure you bring them home. And here they sit to this very day waiting to go home in 130 feet of water.
Now, you have found the remains. How does that make you feel to be swimming near? I don't know. You don't call it swimming. You call it diving near them. How does this
I wouldn't even
feel? Like, does it feel? I don't know.
I wouldn't call it diving either. It's exploring.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it makes you realize the horror of war. I did a show one time and I showed a video and it had bones in it, And this woman said to me, that's disgusting, that's terrible. And my reply to her was, that's reality.
Right.
It's not a video game where you press reset. War is totally, it's the end.
And these are all young men that are down there.
18 to 20 years old, 18 to 22 years old. The captain, again, was 24 years old.
It's amazing to be a captain at that age, but I guess that's common.
Well, I mean, it was, he was qualified. I don't know if it was all that common, but yeah, there were some young skippers, you know, because they were aggressive, they were young, and this kid was just too aggressive, you know. Picture this, as a friend of mine, his name is Billy Campbell, once said to me, and Billy was very perceptive. He said, you know, if you had a sport car, a Corvette with 400 horsepower, and your 24-year-old son said, hey, Dad, I want to borrow the car for the night, would you entrust him with that car? But here, they entrusted this young man with a 250-foot submarine and a crew of 50.
Right.
You know?
And they're all down there.
They're all
now,
down
I think
there.
one body was recovered. Am I remembering
Yeah.
that correctly from your
Yep.
book? And is he buried in this country?
Yep, he's buried in the, first of all, they don't know who it was.
Oh, okay.
You know, because there's bones that lie beneath the silt. So, Mason, who salvaged him, no, actually there's two. There were two bodies.
Two bodies.
One was Hoffman, and Hoffman was pulled out the day they sunk it. Buckleman was a small Navy diver, and Buckleman opened up the hatch, and there were 5 guys, according to Buckleman, cramped in this little space trying to get out this hatch. And Buckleman put a rope around this one kid's neck and yanked him out, and they hauled him up to the surface, and that was Hoffman. And Hoffman, I believe, was buried at sea. And then in the 60s, they grabbed a bunch of bones, and the bones were then buried at Newport Cemetery with full military honors.
But they don't know who. It could be several people in this.
Yep, absolutely.
Bones. Okay.
As a matter of fact, I think Rhode Island separates, I believe they call it Veterans Day. And every Veterans Day, and I stand to be corrected, the German naval ambassador, or attaché, goes to this cemetery to pay homage to the people that are there. Because there's another German sailor from the U-550 who's also buried there, and they know that, you know, it's definitely him.
And you visit this grave.
Yeah.
There's a picture of you. Say the name of the graveyard again.
It's the Newport Naval Cemetery.
And can anybody go visit it? Okay.
Yeah. You know, and what was brought to my attention, especially when I was writing the book, someone puts flowers on the grave of this German sailor from the 853, and we don't know who. Now, they don't put it on the other grave. They only put the flowers on this particular grave.
The particular grave where nobody knows who's in it.
Exactly. You know, which is sort of a mystery because nobody sees anybody going there to put the flowers there.
So that's kind of a fun mystery to solve. Maybe there's a woman he never came back to retrieve, and she's thinking he's there. I don't know. Could be a really good story.
Understand now, that's 3,000, 4,000 miles away. That's Germany.
Yeah, well, maybe she moved over here.
Well, that could be.
You know?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's look at some other things. Is this from that?
No.
Okay, so this is something else. What is this?
This is a hatch cover from the battleship San Diego. Now, the San Diego was part of the Great White Fleet, originally named the California. But when all the ships were reclassified and the tonnages upped, she was reclassified, called a heavy cruiser. And this is the only casualty of World War I on our coast. They believe she struck a mine and exploded. So she sunk in about 100 feet of water, 110 feet of water off Fire Island, New York. And it's a battleship. And it's just amazing.
And is this bronze?
Bronze, yep.
Okay. And it's heavy?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. And is this your coffee table?
This is my coffee table.
Okay. Do you stick coffee on it?
On occasion. You know, what's interesting, now mind you, this was the Great White Fleet. You know, when you start diving, you start to get into the history, and you start to read all, or at least I did, read all I could about the ships, submarines, how they were built, the people that manned them. In 1905, the our president at the time wanted to show the world of the United States naval might. So they painted these battleships white, and it was called the Great White Fleet, and they sailed around the world, stopping at different ports just to show the might of America. And the San Diego, or California, was part of the Great White Fleet. Her sister is in Philadelphia. You know, the river that's right there. I forget the name of the river right now, but she's there and she's open to the public.
Oh,
and that's,
I might have seen it.
That's the
That
Olympia.
Okay.
So I mean, there's a lot of great places that if you're interested in history, especially naval history, you can go to and you can see these things. Most of the stuff in this corner came from the U-853. For example, here we have a gas mask, and again, as I said before, anything that we get, we resurrect, we preserve. And we preserve the gas mask. Some things, you know, this is an after running light. It was steel. And again, used an electrolytic process to stop it from deteriorating. If not, it would just be a pile of rust. I mean, you would think it was sand if we didn't do anything. This is a one-man life raft. And there were probably 50 or 60 of these life rafts on board. So if the guys had to abandon the boat, they could take to the water, get into the life raft. It had instructions as to how to signal. It also had a sea anchor to keep the boat into the sea as opposed to lying to the side, as well as a small cup and cigarettes. The cup was to catch water and the cigarettes were to smoke, you know, to soothe your time spent in the raft, I guess. One thing you didn't want to do was, and it also told you and taught you how to signal. You didn't want to signal if there was potential enemy around. You wanted to keep a low profile. Here we have a leather jacket. And the leather jacket I found in pieces. And restored the leather. I found a woman that used to restore saddles. And she told me, and again this was a few years ago, how to restore a saddle. And I used the same principle to restore the jacket. Once I had to look, because once you take it out of the water, it becomes hard and stiff. And you can virtually hold a piece out in your hand, and it would go out like an ironing board. But once I treated it, which took me about 6 months, it became soft and pliable, and I hired a seamstress to reconstruct it. And we also have a garrison cap, which we found. And the way, believe it or not, the way we treated this is a wool cap. And we wore similar hats in the Army. The way I treated this was the toilet. Take the back off the toilet, put it in there, and each time you flush the toilet, you get a new influx of fresh water. Now, years ago, I treated some wood. It was called a deadeye. Deadeyes used to be on sailing ships. And what I did was I treated the wood in the same manner. Again, used the toilet. Took the lid off, dropped the deadeye in, and again, each time you flushed it, you got new fresh water. You know, hopefully you're going to bleach all the salts out of it. And one day the toilet stopped working, so my wife called the plumber. And you can imagine the surprise on the plumber when he lifted the lid off and he found this big deadeye in the back. And he said, "Ma'am," he says, "I think I found your problem." So, yeah. So when something doesn't work, she became accustomed to looking for things, you know, such as deadeyes, hats, and whatever. And like I said, the jacket we completely restored. And it's as good as new from being underwater for well over 60 years. And what was interesting about the Germans, every piece of clothing, I shouldn't say clothing, all the materials that they used were all stamped with a swastika, which I believe to be some sort of a proof mark. Now the jackets, they were also stamped with a swastika with an M beneath it, and the M meant marine. Now, if you look at the dishes, And we were fortunate to find some dishes. Here you can see the manufacturer, the date of manufacture, a swastika, and an M. And again, the M signifies Marine. Now, I'm not really familiar with any other of the military branches, but I would assume that did the same thing. You know, I don't know what the infantry would have stood for, you know, the Wehrmacht, but as far as naval stuff and equipment, it was stamped with an M. And over here, we've got two compasses. This is a diopter, which they would drop the binoculars on, and they would turn angles off relative to the heading of the vessel to fire the torpedoes. Now, believe it or not, people think a submarine was always submerged, and that wasn't the case. A submarine was actually a surface vessel that would use water for concealment. Most of the attacks, or a lot of the attacks, were conducted on the surface at night. And as soon as they attacked a convoy, they would then drop to the outskirts of the convoy, rearm, and then re-enter it again, you know, running right through it, torpedoing ships. So, and that's what this is. This is a diopter.
Can you tell us what this huge thing is? It's beautiful. And this is copper, right?
Bronze.
Or bronze, okay.
This is a torpedo tube.
Okay.
Everyone does. You don't have them?
No.
Well,
no.
When the enemy comes, I'm the only kid on the block that has one torpedo left in the tube to fire.
But it's so beautiful. Who made them this nice looking?
Well, that's everything that could be done on a submarine was done in bronze. Bronze, stainless, because it was not affected by corrosion.
Okay.
You know, that was the thing.
And what is this off of?
This is off of the L8.
The L8?
L-8.
Right. Bill, I see that you have a lot of personal items here in the dishes. Can you tell me? They look like everyday dishes. Tell me about that.
Sure. What I like is the little cups. These came in these dishes, these cups and saucers and bowls came from the steamship Metis.
Oh my gosh, the Metis.
Yeah. And the Metis.
That's one where there's a huge loss of life on that one. Off Block Island, off Watch Hill.
Right off Watch Hill, August of 1872, the Metis was struck in the bow by the schooner Natty Cushing. And initially, they didn't think there was much damage. As a matter of fact, the captain of the boat, or the first mate, his name was William Palmer.
Bill Palmer.
There you go.
Just like you, Captain Bill Palmer.
So, the captain sent somebody down. Now, this was amazing. They sent somebody down to ascertain the damage, or if there was any damage. And somehow they hung this man over the side. You know, and there was a small hole, but that small hole wasn't going to do much damage at all. So they figured, well, heck, they pulled him back over, I guess. And they continued on. Now, the Natty Cushing, let me just change. Natty Cushing only had some minimal damage to her bowsprit. I believe she went into New London for repair. But again, the Metis elected to continue on. When the captain noticed that the ship was not it seemed sluggish. It didn't seem right. So he sent another crew member down into the bowels of the ship, only to find that she was flooding and flooding quick. And he was almost killed because water just gushed in through the propeller alley. And he was almost drowned. It extinguished his light. And a real tragic story.
Yeah, it is. Do you remember how many were lost that night?
No, not offhand.
Yeah, I remember it was a lot. I wrote about it in my book, Mystic Seafarer's Trail, and I interviewed you about it, asking you what had you found. And these dishes, I can't believe I'm seeing it. Can I touch one?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, it's sad because somebody probably used it and drowned.
Well,
right?
I think a lot of it was cargo because generally the steamships had a marking on them.
Okay.
And there's no markings on these.
Because it doesn't have the name of, the ship on it, so it could have been cargo.
Right.
And for the fact that there's so many.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this, I had the Midas touch. I wanted these, and I made sure that everybody on the boat had some as well. And again, we cleaned them, preserved them.
Were they in a? They weren't in a box, right? Because if they were in a box, that would have rotted away.
Right.
So these are just strewn. Did you have to dig for those?
Yeah.
Okay, so they weren't laying nicely on the bottom for you to get. You had to dig.
Well, the way I found them was sort of funny. The Metis lays in such a manner that it's pointing it's pointing east to west. Bow's pointing to the east, stern pointing to the west. And that's the same direction the current flows. So now, trying to anchor into this thing, at times can be a problem.
You anchoring into the shipwreck.
Right.
How do you anchor? What do you touch to anchor? You just drop an anchor, right?
Well, we use a grapple hook.
Okay, so you're hooking on to something that's down
Right.
there. Okay.
And the idea is to steam into the current or into the wind, throw your anchor, and let it carry you into the wreck so you have a good, safe hang.
Okay.
Now, we had thrown the anchor like 4 times that day. And then finally we hooked up. And when I went down, I found that the grapple hook had pulled a dish out of the mud.
Ah.
And I said, yo. So now it's sort of like, fanning the sand and everything.
Yeah.
And we started to do well, finding all sorts of stuff.
Now tell people, because I was very interested in that shipwreck, and you one of your films shows you diving that shipwreck.
Right.
Can you just tell the audience how to see your film so they can see it for themselves?
Yeah,
How to get to your website or how to get a copy of your film.
they can go to my website, which is thunderfishcharter.com. And I have a list of, I believe it's 14 videos that I've produced, one of which is on the Metis,
Yeah.
as well as the Larchmont.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And we have, when you came on my show, you had clips of that also.
yeah.
So also if you go to YouTube and Google or search for Captain Bill Palmer and Lisa Saunders, you'll see the YouTube video of us talking about those shipwrecks. But I have seen a couple of your full-length shipwreck dive videos, and they were fabulous. I really loved it.
They didn't put you to sleep?
No, are you kidding me? I took them to my dad's house. He loved them. They were wonderful.
You must really dislike that poor man.
No, he loved it, and he was thrilled with your book.
I'm going to subject you to this video, and you're going to like it.
No, it was great. And you have a sense of humor when you're coming out of certain holes with certain outfits on. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, you know
for
what
me.
it is? Again, like I said, this is our history, our coastal history.
Mm-hmm.
And, myself and, the people that are active participants in it, our whole motivation is, we're explorers.
Right.
We are explorers, and we are preserving history so that everyone can enjoy it.
Right. Now, I want to know about this table. Can you tell me about this table?
Sure. This table, I found 2 portholes. Now, the doors were missing, but I felt I have to do something with them. So I made it into a porthole table amidst my wife's objection. She just didn't have the same compassion that I did.
Did you ruin a perfectly, not ruin, did you enhance a perfectly
I did.
good
I
coffee
did.
table and stick holes in it and
Yes.
put these in?
Absolutely. They came from the Llewellyn Holland, which was a tanker that sank off Newport. Went ashore back, I want to say in the 50s. So, and there again, the way you dove on that wreck is you went into the general area because it's an all rocky area, and having at the time primitive electronics, you went through the hook and then you started to search around, and when you found something, be it a piece of pipe or whatever, that's where you brought the boat to, and you started to dive that area.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't define it on your bottom machine because of all the rocks.
Okay, Captain Bill, tell me about this.
Well, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, we're gonna finish with that, right?
Yeah. These are little plaques that were above pieces of machinery, pieces of equipment, and this eliminated the doubt. And what I mean by that is, in time of combat, you want to make sure you hit the right valve, or you opened up the right piece of machinery.
Right.
So everything was marked. Like for example, this one, Octune or whatever, This is for a pump motor. This was on the, this one right here was Morse code, and it says signal mit typhoon, which was must be a some sort of a speaking device, you know, for a man overboard.
Oh, okay.
And like I say, everything was marked on that sub, as well as our subs too. You know, this area here is, I'll call it the L8 area.
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember, the L8 is a submarine that was built in 1915. All the valve handles are marked. And this one says air from compressor, drain valve, fuel filling valve.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So you don't have to remember everything.
Right. So, you know, when they told you to open up the fuel filling valve, you didn't have to guess or take out a print. There it is, commonly marked. Speaker tube.
Oh, okay.
And the way that these speaker tubes worked is they would blow into them, and a whistle would sound on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant that somebody was trying to call you. Even on the World War II boats, like right here, this was a speaker tube, and see the whistle on the top?
Mm-hmm.
So when you heard that whistle, that meant somebody was trying to get a hold of you. You just flip the valve. Now you could have a conversation.
All right. Now this is interesting to me. What is this rotten-looking map that you've pieced together?
These are charts that we took out of the U-boat.
Which one?
The one that sunk off of Block
Block
Island.
Island?
Yep.
Okay.
And they carried, the U-boats carried, and I would assume our boats as well, carried charts of all over the world.
Right.
So, I mean, they may have been told to come to the east coast of the United States, then redeployed to go to the Straits of Gibraltar,
Right.
wherever. So now they had the charts. And again, there was no navigation equipment. They had a sextant.
Mm.
You know, so,
Right.
yeah, everything was very, very primitive. This is a binnacle.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing is this binnacle had these two giant steel balls on them, and they were called Flanders balls, and they were moved in and out to adjust the compass. Okay, it being a magnetic compass. The correct name, are you ready for this? Quadrangle compensators. So you would move your quadrangle compensators in and out to adjust for the magnetic field.
Okay.
And this was mounted on the conning tower of that submarine that was built in 1915.
Mm-hmm.
And what amazed me is the conning tower is the size of a 55-gallon drum. You know, very, very small. It's primitive. 160 feet long. On the inside, there was a valve, and it was this valve. So when they wanted to take a compass bearing, a magnetic compass bearing,
Mm-hmm.
they would open up the valve. And they then had a mirror that would reflect into the bottom when they were submerged. Okay? That way they could look at the mirror and they could say, okay, we're steering, we want to steer 210, 220 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they could close the valve. That way, if there was any leaks, you know, it wouldn't jeopardize the boat. So yeah, can you imagine? Again, very primitive. And this is the after steering station for the Black Point, the one the U-boat sunk.
Okay.
I had the captain of the Black Point over the house here, you know, back 1,000 years ago.
And you interviewed him on one of your films,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great.
So Captain Pryor, you know, I don't know if his eye moistened a little bit, but he grabbed onto the wheel here and he said, I never thought I'd see this again.
Wow.
So God bless
Wow.
Captain Pryor, you know.
Yeah, your films really are worth watching. I hope
thank
people
you.
take up your offer and go on your website and order them.
Well,
So
thank
they
you.
can meet some of these people that have passed on, I believe, right?
Yeah, you know, it's, and again, you know, myself and I want to, it's not just me. It's myself and my friends that,
Right,
you know, don't want these people to be forgotten.
right. Mm-hmm.
You know, and the sad thing is, you know, I've met people that they didn't know German U-boats fought along our coast.
Oh, I didn't know that till a couple years ago. So no, this is great. This piece of history that you're teaching us all, that because you always think of it being fought somewhere else, but it really was over here as well.
See,
What is that?
this is a porthole that came from the Grecian. The Grecian was a steamship that sunk off Block Island. It was in a collision with the city of Chattanooga in 1932. And she was rammed, sunk in 110 feet of water, approximately 5 miles south of Block Island. Great, great dive because, again, the water clarity is beautiful. And this is a portion of her name. It was, GRE.
So you found those, the G and the R and the E.
It was still affixed to the stern section of this vessel.
Okay.
Which was almost completely buried in the sand. That's why we didn't get the rest.
Okay. So you don't dig, or do you? You dig some.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is what we're trying to do is preserve history. Mm-hmm. By gathering these artifacts, preserving them, restoring them, displaying them, and sharing them with the public and sharing them with other people.
That's why I'm really glad you let us come and film so we can put this on TV and YouTube and
My
we can
pleasure.
all enjoy it,
Well, this is sort of like a porthole too.
That is?
It's a square window.
Oh, I've never seen a square window.
It's the same that was used on the Titanic. If you ever see the videos, the underwater videos of the Titanic, it will show you these big windows that lined the deck. Mm-hmm. Now, this also has the markings on it that say London, England on it. So that's where they were manufactured.
And these are the same window that was same like manufactured in the same place.
Same windows as the Titanic.
Wow.
But they were on a ship called the Proteus, which was sunk in North Carolina.
Okay. And what is this?
This was a fire extinguisher from a all copper from an oil tanker that was sunk in Cape Cod Bay. And this right here, and this is what I mean about restoration. This is a compass. Mm-hmm. This compass came from the USS Tarpon, which was the first all-welded submarine built by electric boat. It was built in, I believe it was 35, launched in 38. And saw action against the Japanese 2 days after Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
The Tarpon made 12 war patrols and then was retired and used as a training vessel. So yeah, this is aluminum. So what we had to do is take it apart, boil it out in antifreeze, which stopped the corrosion process, because this aluminum will actually turn to like a white dust if it's not preserved.
How do you know how to do all these things?
Research.
Okay, so you know all this really in-depth history of these wrecks, and you know how to preserve. Where are you doing a lot of your research? Now you could do it online, I assume, but before the online days, how did you get all this knowledge?
Libraries.
The old-fashioned library. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any that are particularly good for people that are interested in shipwrecks and history? Are there any libraries?
Well, the Mystic Seaport has a great library.
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm.
And I haven't been in there in some years, only to the online. Mm-hmm. But they would allow the public to do research and not have to pay a fee to use the facilities. Mm-hmm. So you could just walk in and say, I'm going to use the library, and then go over to the library, and they're very, very helpful.
Right. Okay. So anybody can learn this and get this information now. Right. Okay, that's great. Now, what is this? This looks like we were really lucky that you pulled this out, because it looks like it wasn't going to last a whole lot longer.
This is the helm from the Heroine. And the Heroine was a fishing vessel that was built in 1898, sunk in 1920 off Charleston, Rhode Island. And when I pulled it up, it was in pieces, restored the wood, dried it, treated it, and then reassembled it.
You mean this was not assembled? Even this little bit was just bits strewn around, and you figured out how to get it partially together?
Yeah, I knew it was the helm.
Okay.
Because it was in, all the pieces were in the same proximity. As a matter of fact, we're missing a few pieces, but...
Right, but still, it kind of adds to the mystery of it.
Yeah. Same.
All right.
This is a gyro compass repeater, which was hooked into the main gyro. Open up the lid, took a look at it, and you had a compass bearing. And what's amazing, it's all bronze, but you could see how it's pushed in. And again, this was from the depth charging.
You mean that is damaged?
Yeah.
From the depth charge?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So imagine the force
Right.
You know, just tremendous.
Yes.
And underneath is the main gyro compass, which is in pretty sad shape. But again, it's restored and won't deteriorate any further. And that's about it on the 853.
Well, I can't believe that I'm actually seeing the artifacts from reading your book. It was just thrilling. And to actually see the jacket and to see all this was a real privilege. And I'm sure the audience is going to be really thrilled that they got to see it and didn't have to take the risk that you did, to have to go below to look at it. So thank you very much, Captain Bill. Can you tell people your website and how they can find out more about your book and how to find out about your films that they can order? So please tell that.
Sure. You can go to my website, which is thunderfishcharter.com, and that'll give you a list of all the videos that we've produced to date. And it'll give you some information on the book. And should you want to email me, it's Captain Bill Palmer, all spelled out, at gmail.com.
Thank you again. And your Shipwreck films, by the way, aren't just you talking. This is you diving.
Yeah.
This is you exploring. This is you squeezing into hatches. Deck hole. What do you call it? What do you call it? The conning tower.
Hatches.
And, yeah, hatches. And you're taking off your oxygen to squeeze in. That's scary. I loved it. Because I didn't have to do it, and I could live vicariously through you. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And you're going to take me out on your boat, right?
Absolutely.
And you'll take anybody, right? You know, you take customers.
There are certain limitations.
Well, no, they have to be certified. But I'm just saying,
right.
You know, you have a boat that you charter, Thunderfish, so people can rent it with you as the captain for the day. Is that how it works? And you take them. Okay.
Well, you know, it's a charter boat.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to see you. I just got to give you a hug now because we've spent so much time at your house. Thank you. Bye.